Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and I know this is a bit of a late topic now, but I had a bunch of other videos that I wanted to get out first. I was also out of town when I found out about this, and I had other videos scheduled, and I couldn't really make a video right there on the spot just because I didn't have the upload speed, nor everything needed to, make a proper video to my liking. So I just decided, you know what, I'll talk about it later. But what are we talking about today? We are going to be talking about PlayStation 2 emulation on the PlayStation 4, and this is something I want to talk about because recently, the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 turned 2 years old. Yeah, it's been 2 years that we've been stuck with these systems. Amazing, isn't it? And we've seen some pretty nice things on them, and there's even more developments that are coming out. The Xbox One, we've really seen it pull a complete 180 where there's not the Suicide Watch DRM on there. There's Xbox 360 native, local emulation on there, and a bunch of nice other features as well too, along with, a nice, newer, shinier UI. While it's on the PlayStation 4, we've still gotten, nicer features, back end and front end, where we've seen, some new features added into the XMB and everything. We've seen more support, but we've also seen, just recently they said that they just unlocked the 7th core on the PlayStation 4 CPU, I want to say, to developers. So now that's going to give them even more power to make games even better on the PlayStation 4, which everyone should be happy about. It really doesn't affect you that much if you aren't a developer, but if you're just a consumer and a gamer, that means your games are going to be better. So that works out pretty well for everyone. More power equals better. That's really how it is. But also at the same time, something pretty neat came out, and this was PlayStation 2 emulation. Now, from what I understand, they're going to have PlayStation 2. It's already working now. And they're also planning PlayStation 1 emulation. I'd like to see how this works. Now, you might be asking, how is this? What's going on? Wasn't that already there? I'll answer those. First off, it was not already there. Yes, there was a streaming service called PlayStation Now, which you can stream PlayStation 3 games, and I think PlayStation 4 games on there, and they were even working on PS1 or 2 games if they're not there already. But here's the thing, I've told people time and time again, PlayStation Now is not backwards compatibility. Reason being is that all it is streaming. In fact, if you have a smart Sony TV with the PlayStation app and a PlayStation 3 controller, or I think even a PS4 controller, you can actually access PlayStation Now and play PlayStation games on there. You can play PlayStation games on a TV without a PlayStation system. So it's really the same technology on the PlayStation 4, except you have an app for the PlayStation 4 instead of an app for your TV. That's really the only difference. Aside from that, it's really not using any local hardware, which is why I say game streaming is not backwards compatibility, especially because it does rely on a direct connection to the internet at all times. Now, when it comes to the actual emulation here, the reason why I was talking about, 360 emulation on the Xbox One being more important and everything is because that, even though you do have to download a new build of the game from Xbox Live, that's local. It's a free option. You don't have to pay extra for it, and you just need to do one download, which is the game, and then you can play it locally on your hard drive. The PlayStation 4 did not have any of those options until now, which is still quite limited. So the first run of games that came out were a collection of older Star Wars classic games. Now, it's Super Star Wars and then 3 PlayStation 2 Star Wars games. So the Super Star Wars game, I think that's just, a direct port and everything. They just kind of redid it from the Super Nintendo version. But these other 3 games are actually being emulated. So they have built a PlayStation 2 emulator on them, and I haven't messed with them, up front or anything, because I don't really have much of an interest in the Star Wars games, to be honest, and I didn't get the code or anything. I could probably get the code one day to mess around, but I'd rather mess around with games I'm more interested in. That might offend some people, but hey, it is what it is. So this is how it works, right? You get the code that you get for, the classic Star Wars games, you download them over, and then apparently when you boot up the game, it will have trophy support. You could do all the stuff that you can do normally on the PlayStation 4, so, party chats, anything like that. You could still use the cross-media bar, you can suspend the game, anything like that, except everything is like a PlayStation 2 interface in the game itself. You have the PlayStation 2 boot up screen and logo, you have, memory card support, things like that. And in addition to that, it does upscale the game, and it does make them run better. At least the ones that have been shown, there are games that were, kind of dodgy with frame rates. They're now staying at either stable 30 or stable 60 frames a second. So now they are actually stable. There's been, a lot of things such as anti-aliasing, better textures, anything like that are now being applied. So they do look better and they run better than them being played on a PlayStation 2 or even a backwards compatible PlayStation 3. Now, the thing I like about this is, yes, this is native backwards compatibility support. This is great. This is another feature. Everyone should be excited for this, honestly. Even if you say, oh, well, I don't have interest in playing PlayStation 2 games, you have a PlayStation 4 that now has more features on it. As I said, I support more features being added to any type of system, and now this also means that all 3 systems out do have some form of backwards compatibility. Best to worst would be the Wii U has complete backwards compatibility with Wii titles, and you don't have to download a new build or anything. The Xbox One has limited backwards compatibility with Xbox 360 games. It's a select list of games, it's always being updated, and you have to download them even if you do have the disc. And then the PlayStation 4, right now from what I see, it's only a small library of games, which will grow, but you can't use a game, you can't use a disc on there. And this sounds extremely similar to what they did on the PlayStation 3, which to me, I'm theorizing and prophesizing that I don't think they're going to budge off that. For anyone that does not know, the PlayStation 3 was kind of a hodgepodge of emulation. What happened was when it first came out, the most expensive PlayStation 3 system actually had PlayStation 2 hardware built into it. So you had hardware backwards compatibility in there. Then what happened was that was too expensive. So they cut some corners. The first run of 80 gigabyte systems, they had software backwards compatibility. Sony saw that it really didn't work out that well. It really was not that good. So that was the last time they ever officially supported backwards compatibility on a system there. Because after that, the second run and onward of 80 gigabytes and other types of systems, they no longer had PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility. However, every single PlayStation 3 is backwards compatible with PlayStation 1 games because that's easy enough to emulate. Now, they did secretly have that feature available. It's just it wasn't officially unlocked. In fact, if you have a jailbroken PlayStation 3 system, it could be any type of system that is jailbroken, you can play PlayStation 2 games on there. If you have a PS3 Slim, which no Slims have backwards compatibility, if it's jailbroken, you can play PS2 games on it. You really can. So the feature is possible, it's still there, but Sony locked it away. But for official firmware users and people who don't know about any of the stuff I just talked about, what they did is they had PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 classics, where, as I said, every PlayStation game worked on the PS3. So even if you had discs, like if you had a disc of a PS1 game, you popped it in, it worked. I supported that. 100% backwards compatibility. PlayStation 2, though, unless you had a specific backwards compatible PS2, you could not play PS2 discs. So what you had to do was you had to go and download the PS2 games that were select by Sony and then download them to your system. Now, these were all selected for various different reasons. Some of them, most of the time, is licensing issues. For example, the Xbox One, they've said that they really want to get every game backwards compatible, but there are some companies that will not budge. Rockstar, for example, has said they are not interested right now, at least, in putting Red Dead Redemption on the backwards compatibility list. I think EA, or the company that works on Burnout, has said they are not interested in really ever putting Burnout Revenge as a backwards compatible game on the Xbox One. So those are games that would work fine, I'm sure, on the Xbox One, but because of licensing issues or because of company, mishandlings or anything, they cannot be put on there, at least for the time being. So that's what's happened, with the PlayStation 3's type of PS2 emulation. The games that were on there either had to work properly or the companies okayed them. If a game did not work completely properly, or if a company could, for some reason, not renew certain things, then they couldn't bring it over. That's just how digital distribution works, unfortunately. Now, one thing I really didn't like about that was you had to rebuy your games. So let's say I had, I'm trying to think of a PS2 game, Twisted Metal Black. Let's say I had a physical copy of Twisted Metal Black, which I do own, and I do not have a backwards compatible PlayStation 3, but I want to play it on there. If I put the disc in, I cannot play it, but I can pay $10 to download it online. Even though I bought the disc and I have it in my hand, I have to buy a PS3 digital copy of it to play. And that's really how it's working on the PlayStation 4 as well. Yes, the games are better, they run better, they look nicer, everything like that, but you cannot put PlayStation 1, 2, or 3 games in the PS4 and expect them to work. You have to buy them, at least right now, which that I do not support, and that drives me a little bit mad. Just due to the fact that I'm like, the Wii U has 100% backwards compatibility, all the games work on there. The Xbox One, one, you do have to download them, but it's a free service, and as long as you have internet to go around and the discs, you're good to go. So if I buy a copy of Left 4 Dead, like a physical version of it, and it's backwards compatible, I can put my disc in there, and I don't have to pay any extra money aside from, internet and bandwidth usage to use that, to download a new copy. While as the PlayStation 3, for example, or the PlayStation 4, excuse me, let's say, again, I want to play my copy of Twisted Metal Black. If it becomes a backwards compatible title, I'm sure Sony will sell it for, $10, $15 digitally. However, even though I own a physical copy of the game, if I put that disc in there, I cannot install it, I cannot play it, I cannot download a new copy, with it acting as a key of sorts or anything like that, which that I am not a fan of. But because Sony did this exact same system with the PlayStation 3, I really don't have any hopes that they're going to be doing it over here. Now, as I said, it worked fine on the PS3. Any PS1 game, if it was your region code and you had the disc of it, you could play directly off the disc with no issues. PS2, they didn't have that. You couldn't, now yes, that was a technological issue right there, kind of, but you had to still, download, buy a new copy, but I didn't even really support that in that time either, so I don't know, it's just kind of something that really bugs me with this, unfortunately. So those are my thoughts on PS4 emulation. Do I support it? Yes, I do. Do I support the way they are doing it? No, I really don't. But do I like that it is a new feature that is added into the PS4 that will make it even better? Yes. But what I think Sony should do is they should look at what Microsoft is doing. Not Nintendo, because they don't have the, they don't have the actual architecture for that. But they should look at what Microsoft is doing and maybe even bring in a service or just an option that will allow them to say, hey, you could buy these games digitally, but if you have a disc, just put it into your PS4, it will detect what game it is, and you can download a new build of the game, free of charge. That's it. I think that'd be great, and also that would put Sony even more ahead of the Xbox One. So right now they are selling better, people are liking them more, but this would make it even better. But do I think they're going to do it? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I wouldn't hold out for it, but they might surprise me. I would absolutely love to be proven wrong with that. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. Let me know what you all think of this.